Hey guys, you're welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about how to speak more eloquently. I've had this video idea for a while. Actually, somebody suggested it to me, and then I also put out a YouTube community post. I put out a poll so that you guys would decide or you guys would vote on if you wanted the video or not, and most people voted for yes, want the video, so I decided to do it. So before we get started, please make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. Please make sure that you're also subscribed, and make sure that you turn on the notification bell so that you'll be notified every single time that I post a new upload. So speaking eloquently is a very important aspect of your personal and your professional life. Whether you are delivering a presentation or having a random conversation, or even if you're just writing, speaking eloquently just helps you to convey your messages more clearly and in a more understandable way. And I believe so much in the fact that communication is a very important aspect of our lives as human beings, because every single place that you go to, you communicate with people, even if it's verbal or non-verbal communication. However, I've noticed that speaking well or being a well-spoken person is not necessarily a trait that every single person is born with. For some people, it comes easy to them, and for some people, they have to practice and learn and keep practicing before they eventually get the hang of it. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing practical tips and techniques to help you to speak better, express yourself with more precision and with more clarity. So the first point that I have is for you to speak slowly. A lot of people speak really fast, and even me, I'm guilty of it. Over time, I've started thinking about the fact that okay, eventually more people from other places apart from Nigeria may want to watch my videos, so it's only right for me to try to speak better. Not speak better like to fake an accent, just to speak in a clearer way. And I try my best to cut out parts that are not very audible or parts that are not well understood by even me, let alone more people. So the thing about speaking too fast is that sometimes it can come across as you saying too many things at once, and the message that you're actually trying to pass may get lost in transmission. So the goal that you're trying to achieve with that particular line of communication may not actually be achieved because you're speaking too fast and people are not able to assimilate or even understand what you're saying because you're just talking. So it's like garbage in, garbage out. So the trick is when you speak slowly and more moderately, you give your listeners a chance to actually understand what you're saying. You give yourself a chance to actually pass across your message clearly, and you will also be well understood. But if you're somebody that is trying their best, or putting in that extra effort to try to speak more eloquently, I feel like the very first step would be to take your words slowly, and not like you should start speaking like a toddler. You don't have to speak one per se, but just reduce the pace, if that makes any sense. So the next tip I have would be for you to enunciate clearly. So enunciate just means to pronounce, right? Just to pronounce your words better or to pronounce it clearly. I've recently found out that a lot of Nigerians have issues with English. I know this because many people have told me that, oh my god, I don't like English, it's too hard. The reason people think that English is hard, or the reason people have a problem with it, especially here in Nigeria, is because people don't pronounce their words properly. All those homonyms and homophones that they used to teach us in primary school, they were teaching us absolute nonsense. And I got to find this out when I was in, I think, SS2 or SS3. If you pronounce your words correctly, you won't even have so many issues with spellings, because the reason why many people don't even know how to spell, maybe the difference between being and been, or there and there, like those words that sound very similar but have different spellings. The reason people actually get confused by it is because they don't know how to pronounce, or they don't know how to enunciate their words. So one of the ways that I actually started learning how to pronounce words properly, not just because I studied English, that was a huge part of what actually influenced me to start speaking better, but the reason why I took it upon myself was because the time I went to America in 2019, that was my first time there, I realized that the English we speak here is very different from the English you speak there. I think I even made a video about this, that you can't even say things like, oh, please shift for me. like, like how we say in Nigeria. In Nigeria, that lingo makes a lot of sense. But when you travel out of the country, you realize that you can speak English well, or you can write, you can read, you can do everything, but you're not speaking the same English that they are speaking. So I became very intentional about it because I didn't want to start to change up my accent for anybody. I didn't want to look insecure. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to take it upon myself to learn how to pronounce words properly. And one of the ways that I learned how to do this was to listen to, maybe when people are speaking, people like Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Now she speaks so clearly, and you can clearly tell that this woman is not faking an accent. She just sounds very, very eloquent. So I started listening to her more, and I like to watch a lot of movies. So whenever I'm watching movies, I listen to how they pronounce their words. And even when I was in school, well, this one I actually just had to do it. So when I was in school, we had this course on phonology, and phonology was basically about words, pronouncing words, and all those things, transcriptions, those very technical aspects of the English language that many people just do not like. But because I had to just pass that course and get an A, and I just wanted to be more intentional about my communication, I started, learning how to transcribe words from the dictionary. And I know it sounds like a stretch, but it's actually helped me. Like, me and my friends actually used to practice this, because these were things that we would encounter in our exams or in our tests or in assignments. So we just started practicing it, and from there we started learning how to speak better, how to spell better, how to just use language to communicate better. So I think that enunciating your words properly is very, very important, so that people actually understand what you're saying. It's not that you come. I just I just remember something before I started filming this video. I put I put out a tweet because I heard somebody calling spaghetti. I heard somebody calling spaghetti spaghetti. So I tweeted it and I was like, this is a very crazy pronunciation by Nigerians. And then people in the code started telling me that people actually call it people actually call it spaghetti also. I'm like, the fuck is this? Anyway, I just remember that. So I'm just using that as an example. My point is that don't be using the wrong version of words. Don't be mispronouncing words and be calling it Nigerian English. No, Nigerian English does not mean that you should be speaking bad English. Okay, I want people to actually stop saying that thing, because it gets on my nerves when people say, "Oh, it's just Nigerian English." No, you're speaking bad grammar. Period. In the long run, you actually have yourself to thank, because by the time you start to travel out of where you've lived all your life, you see that communication is so important. If you cannot just say, please excuse me, or please can you move, or please can you make some room for me, if you're not able to think fast about, okay, how am I going to say what I want to say that is going to be more socially acceptable in this new environment, or how am I going to say it that people are going to understand me? At the end of the day, enunciating your words clearly just helps you to sound more professional. It helps you to sound more polished. It actually helps you to sound more intelligent. And this is not to speak down on people who have challenges with reading or challenges with the English language. The reason why I'm making this particular video is because a large percentage of my audience is Nigeria, and many of my Nigerian audiences will be able to relate to it. So I'm not trying to say that, oh, if you cannot speak English, you're not sensible or anything like that. No, I don't want this video to be taken out of context. In fact, being able to communicate in other languages is a huge flex, and it is one of my goals in my life to learn how to speak at least 5 languages. Only God knows where I'm going with that, but that's besides the point. My point is that if you just want to learn how to speak better, just enunciate properly. So my next point is to vary your tone and your pitch. Here in Nigeria, we often speak with very flat tones. We don't really express, or we don't really put stress in the words that are supposed to be stressed. And I don't know why. It's just a thing with the Nigerian accent. And sometimes when you now try to, enforce that stress, or when you're trying to make sure that you put that stress in your sentences when you're speaking, it almost sounds fake. It almost sounds as if, what's this one doing? You get. But it is one of the things that helps you to communicate clearly. Think about when people are writing in, let's say, social media apps, or maybe just random instant messaging and texts and things like that. Sometimes you want to emphasize on a particular word within a sentence, but a lot of people do not know how to do it. And I hate to sound so technical, but the truth is, writing is a form of communication, and from what you write, you also speak. So if you don't know how to place stress or vary your tone and pitch when you're texting somebody, or when you're putting out a tweet, or when you're typing an Instagram caption, or typing out something on your story, if you don't know how to place the stress properly on the right words, how are you going to speak it when you're speaking? I don't know if that makes sense. Okay, let me give you guys an example. Imagine I make a sentence like, my siblings are entitled to every single thing that I have. That's just a sentence, right? And I mean it. Maybe I'm putting out a tweet or something like that. And somebody else comes to say, oh my God, why should you encourage entitlement in anybody? Now, if I want to reply to that person, I would say that's why I'm referring to my siblings. Do you understand? My siblings. So in that sentence, my is what is going to be emphasized, and that's where you vary your tone and your pitch. Most people would emphasize on the word sibling, but that's not the point. The point is that the subject of the sentence is the my, what belongs to you, the person who made that sentence. Now I'm going on a whim and I'm trying to explain explain grammar terms and stuff like that, but I really do hope that you guys understand what I'm saying. I'm just trying to say that varying your tone and pitch really just helps you to communicate better. You emphasize on words that are supposed to be emphasized on, and you don't just sound flat when you're speaking. And you just sound flat, it makes the dialogue very boring. I'm so sorry to say, like, you just sound like, oh, okay, I went to the market yesterday to go and buy tomatoes, onions, and this one and that one. It sounds very, very flat and boring. You're not interesting to even listen to. When you're engaging in a conversation with somebody, and these things go really, really far, even as far as maybe you being in a talking stage or getting to know somebody. Me, I'm the kind of person that can get turned off when somebody is not speaking well, or when someone doesn't know how to spell. Like, not like I look down on them, but it's just one of my pet peeves. You get, it's just one of those things that I just don't appreciate it. I appreciate when people know how to communicate really well, because it's a sign to me, it's a sign of intelligence, it's a sign of you being intentional. So imagine you're speaking to a babe now that you really, really like, or you're speaking to a guy that you really, really like, and your tone and your pitch is just so flat and so boring. Nobody even wants to call you on the phone to ask you how your day went, because listening to you will be such a bore because you're not speaking properly. So these things I know maybe I'm going too far, but these things actually go a really, really long way. And you'd be surprised how building these tiny habits can actually just generally make you a better person. By varying your tone and pitch, you can add emphasis, you can convey your emotions, and you can also keep your listeners engaged. Okay? The next tip I have would be to use proper grammar. This is where I have the biggest problem with people, not even just Nigerians, in general, especially people that speak English and use social media in English. And I understand the fact that there are now abbreviations, there are now acronyms and things like that, and I use them often when I'm typing. But at the same time, I just feel like some people just don't know where to draw the line. It's not every single thing that you must abbreviate. Like, okay, if you're maybe trying to cut down some words, or if you're trying to shorten a word because you're trying to put out a tweet and you're trying to get all the characters of the sentence that you're saying into one single tweet, I can understand why you'll be trying to break it down. But not when there's absolutely no reason for you to type and keep cutting down your words. Are you fast fashion? Why are you doing that? I have a very serious problem with people that don't use proper grammar, especially when they are supposed to use it. If you're using it for social media banter, I can understand, but there are sometimes that it goes too far. Let's say in an email or in a professional setting, maybe you're trying to communicate with your colleagues and you're typing, like, I don't want to even bring Gen Z into it, but I kind of have to, because on a low, we're actually the ones that are bringing up all these abbreviations and things like that. And sometimes I just feel like these things are reducing people's communication skills. People don't know how to communicate. People don't know how to type in full. People don't know how to construct simple sentences. Just restricts dialogue so much. And I believe so much in the beauty of just communicating, dialogue, and just talking, just stating your feelings, or just stating things for what they are, plain and simple. Not all this cut and join language that people are always doing. I just find it really pathetic. I'm sorry, but I feel like if you are trying to speak better, if you're trying to be a more eloquent person, maybe you're not somebody that talks much, or maybe you're very shy like me. I'm very shy to talk in a very large group of people. Usually, when I'm around people that I don't know, I'm always very quiet. People always say, "Oh my God, how can you be quiet? You do YouTube videos." But I'm alone in my room right now. Nobody's listening to me. I'm the only one here. So, of course, I'm going to be able to speak. But when I'm around people, I get very, very nervous. And sometimes I just want the ground to open up and swallow me. So maybe you're like that, and maybe you're better at expressing yourself when it comes to writing or sending text messages. I think that one way that you can improve if you're trying to be more eloquent is to start from how you write. Check how you write. Are you always fond of maybe not spelling things properly or using abbreviations unnecessarily? Stop it. Start trying to type in full. Start trying to type like an adult. Start trying to type like people should respect you. Maybe you have a particular communication pattern with your friends. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't let it go overboard. Sometimes my friends even tell me that I sound too official when I'm when I'm texting them. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know. Like to me, I'm just talking. Like, I'm just like, oh, okay. Under using proper grammar, I would also say that you should make an attempt to punctuate properly. Punctuation. Punctuation. Like sometimes I'm like, why do people not punctuate? And sometimes even people that want to punctuate like God. This is just a personal problem for me anyway. It's not like it's a big deal. It's just for me. It's just such a huge turn off. Punctuate your goddamn sentences. Use commas. Commas are used as pauses in between sentences, or when you're trying to list something. Use a full stop. Those are like the most basic forms of punctuations that a lot of people don't use. Sometimes when I read tweets, like maybe somebody's trying to reply to me, I remember I even told one of my mutuals this thing that, come, be punctuating your sentence. I don't understand what you're saying. Ah, your sentence is just running. There's no pause, there's no full stop, nothing. Come on. Please be using punctuations, okay? It's so important. It is very, very important. At the end of the day, when you speak proper grammar, you sound more credible and trustworthy, okay? My final tip would be for you to practice, okay? You can know all these things by heart, and you can just cook up a theory in your head and be like, okay, this is how I'm going to use it, this is the context I'm going to use it in. But if you don't practice, you won't actually get to know how to do these things. It's just like learning a skill. Before you learned how to speak English, you had to learn letters, you had to learn sounds, you had to learn 2-letter words, 3-letter words, 4-letter words, like that. There's always like a build up for you to get to that point where you can say, okay, I'm actually really, really good at this. So I think that practicing is very, very important. You don't even just have to practice maybe when you're writing a personal statement, or you're writing a cover letter, or you're writing a CV. You can just practice in your daily speech, okay? Every single day, keep it at the back of your mind, or even at the front of your mind, that, hey, I need to speak well. Think about it this way. How would you want to be perceived if you walked into a room and you had to address about, let's say, 5 to 10 people on something? How do you want them to think of you? Because apart from them looking at what you look like, the things that come out of your mouth is what you're going to be judged by. And this is not to say that you should try to do this to impress other people. At the end of the day, it's self-development, and you don't know how far these skills are going to take you. So the key is to practice with your texting, practice with your writing, practice with even, let's say, maybe helping your friends to do the most basic things. Oh, you need to write a cover letter. Oh, let me try and do it for you. Practice even using AI, using things like ChatGPT. For instance, now on ChatGPT, maybe if you've written something, you can just enter it into ChatGPT and say, okay, write this better, and it brings out a more clearly defined and well written statement, or whatever results you want for you. So you can practice speaking better in public speaking events, or networking events, or even just your regular casual conversations. It goes a really long way. The more you practice, the more eloquent you become, the more comfortable you become, and you would be so confident. Like, at the end of the day, confidence is key. I remember when I started doing my NYSC, my line manager then used to tell me that the reason why you're scared of doing something is because you don't know. The reason why you're not confident is because you don't have the knowledge to do it. And I thought about it really deeply. Like, if somebody should ask me now, write a 5,000 word essay, I can even write it with my hands, because when I was in school, they used to ask us to do some crazy assignments, and some of them were handwritten. So to me, it's nothing. I know how to do it, so I'm not scared of doing it. But if you tell me now to solve a quadratic equation, I'm going to go into brain fart mode, because I don't know those things, and mathematics just doesn't come easy to me. So I don't know if you guys understand the analogy that I'm trying to paint here. If you don't know how to do something, of course you're going to be scared. If you don't have the knowledge, of course you're not going to be confident enough to do it. So the more you practice something, the better you become at it. Now the world is so focused on STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, and math, and we forget the humanities, and we forget the need to actually communicate with our fellow human beings, because everybody is hiding behind a screen. People are not even writing letters to one another. Like, when did we get to this point? People don't even want to send emails. Send your friends emails. That's another way to even practice. Do you get my drift? Oh my god. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that it was helpful. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Please don't forget to share it as well. If you have any questions for me, leave it in the comments, or if you have any additional tips for people that may be watching this video, you can also leave it in the comments. Don't forget to also turn on the notification bell, so you'll be notified of every single time I upload a video. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.